promised, 35 different industries, expert from each industry, talking about the challenges, the hardships, and the opportunities, new way of doing business. But we had one of our experts, Expert03, Christina Tervay. She's coming back because everybody was blowing up about like, well, now we know all these things to do. Well, what should we not do? Christina, thank you for coming back.
Thank you, Gabriel. I'm so glad to be back. I had a lot of fun last time, so I'm excited for this one.
No, and this one's going to be fun. I mean, we're not trying to be super negative. We're not trying to, we apologize in advance. Full disclaimer, we just found these online, but we thought that it was helpful. This is a good time to kind of learn a little bit about what to do, what not to do. Again, if you want to get involved, if you want to follow the conversation, text Expert35. And if you want to be involved with Christina, Expert03, you'll get access to, you got some webinars that you do online. Give us a little bit of a spiel about, what you do in your digital media world.
I do. So I like to teach people about branding and how to be cohesive through all of their social media. And so I offer some online courses. I do have some freebies that are out there to give people kind of a taster of what I do. And then I have ones that are available for purchase.
Awesome. And we've got the info on there. We're going to get right into it, right? First one is like, we're going to start positive, right? Okay. All right. What should one do now, right? Give us a big, social media. What direction should we start taking?
So I like to go high vibe positive. So just remember when you're posting on social media, especially if you have a business or you're looking for a job, there's going to be other people that are out there looking at this besides your friends and family. So I think it's very important to have just high vibe, mind your P's and Q's, just be professional. And so that's part of what today is about, is that had a lot of people that said, can you give examples of what not to do? Because we're not entirely clear on that. So yeah, that's kind of the direction we're headed.
Perfect. And one of the big things we hear about is like, how do I create profiles? How many profiles should I have? Give us a little bit around the realm of profiles.
Yes. So although it's cool to have a profile for your pet and have 10 profiles for yourself on Facebook, that is a no-no. So you want to have one profile page. And then if you have pets or something else that you're interested in or your business, that would go under business pages or groups.
And what about anything, posting? You're saying, hey, don't make posts, that are just rambling, right?
Yes, definitely. So I always tell people to add value to what you're doing, but a post is not expected to be multiple paragraphs long. There's a lot of people that do that. Keep in mind that your user is just skimming through Facebook and they don't have time to read a whole lot of material. And it's actually better for your algorithms if you end up actually posting on your website as a blog, if you have that longer material, and then coming back to sending it to Facebook. So I like to tell people KISS, which is a reminder of keep it simple, sweetie.
Nice edit.
Exactly. So yeah, we're being professional here. So keep it simple, sweetie. And you want to just keep in mind that save all the meat and potatoes to show you as an expert on your website. Draw that traffic back to your website.
And the big one is, what about like quality? Obviously, you're in the digital world. What do you recommend in that, image quality world?
Yeah, so as far as images, it's called optimization, but all of the different platforms have sizes or pixels that you should size your images to based on where you're posting. So you can do a search on Google or whatever your favorite search engine is and just say social media image sizes for 2020, and it will show you what image sizes to use. That's going to help it so that when somebody sees it come up on their timeline, that your image isn't distorted or cut off. And then the other part of sizing images properly or optimizing them is to make sure that you have a higher resolution, just so that it doesn't look pixelated and blurry. So the better quality, the better for your newsfeed.
Perfect. And actually, this is a great question that we hadn't even talked about. So what's a good length of a time for live video?
Excellent question. So it really depends on your viewers. You have there's different statistics out there, but basically in the first 30 seconds, you need to catch somebody's attention. And in the first 2 minutes, if you haven't kept that attention, then just going on and on isn't necessarily going to bring you more. If you've prepped for your live videos and you have people showing up, then definitely you can get into more materials at the beginning. If you are going live and nobody knows you're there, it really takes about 30 seconds to 1 minute for people to even realize that you're on. I like to say don't do the videos more than about 12 to 15 minutes, because at that point you've kind of, it's more of a seminar and you've lost their attention unless you're giving very valuable information that they're interacting with.
Right. So let's keep it actionable. And with that, well, we've got some examples. So do you want to jump into some of these don'ts?
Yeah, the fun part.
The fun part. Here we go.
Okay, so one of the biggest things that I see out there is people just typing everything in all capital letters, or they're ranting about their days. And, it's attention seeking, and it doesn't really benefit you or your business. And it may give potential clients a negative opinion of you. So don't rant and don't vent and don't type in all caps.
Right. And we got 2 examples of the all caps. Let's see where the other one. Oh, maybe there it is.
Yeah. So as much as I love Oprah, even if you look at this from the standpoint of caps can represent anger. And so when she's saying she's feeling a warm welcome, that doesn't represent well because of the caps.
Perfect. Let me see. We got a little bit of distortion on the audio. So I'm going to reset real quick. See if we can get this going. Give me 1 second. There and going back. All right. So there you go. Our next is don't tag all your friends.
Yes. So a lot of people want to see their posts on their friends' timelines. So they end up tagging all of their friends so that it shows up. But this is honestly more harmful than good. It's really annoying, especially if you weren't a part of that or the person's just trying to sell something on your site. So keep it to whoever is in the picture or the image, or if you need to tag some friends to be supportive, maybe 5 or less would be good.
Perfect. Yeah. And like this is obviously blowing it up. You can't, I know it's small on the screen, but they're blowing it up.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's like 100 people. I think that's a little excessive. All right. And then this is basically the flag on here. I know it's hard to tell, but basically they're talking about the American YouTube creators, and they put a different flag there. So be sure that when you're adding content that you kind of, check it and make sure that it's accurate before you put it out there.
Yeah. And we've seen that. We've actually seen it during the Olympics. I mean, this isn't just social media. This is everywhere.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, don't make assumptions or judgment calls. So in this example, it's just basically trying to hit the pain point of poverty. And not everybody is in poverty, or if they're in poverty, it's not for the same reason. So I don't recommend posting anything, especially with your business, and be accusatory or make judgment calls or assumptions. It's not helpful. It puts people in a negative mindset, and it's just shaming, and it doesn't work.
Yeah. Be positive, right? Be super
Yes.
positive on that.
Yes. And the funny thing about that tag on there, it says Motivation Monday. I find nothing motivational about that.
Exactly. And so many people get fired over posts like this. So it's not only don't do it for your business, but like if you are in charge of it, really think before you post.
Exactly. And the interesting thing is we're using a lot of solid brand names here as our examples. So it's kind of surprising. Usually they have teams that inspect this type of stuff, and it got through the cracks for some reason. Mm-hmm. So this one's pretty much an obvious thing. I realize that it's more trendy that people swear or use obscenity in social settings, but it's not, there's no place for it within your business. It just turns people off. It looks very unprofessional. And again, it exhibits anger, and it makes people come from a low vibe position.
And let's talk about the other side of the equation, right? What if somebody writes something like this on your profile? Like, how would you say someone should react to something like this?
If it's written on your profile, I've actually had that happen before, where friends have said something and they just kind of talking trash or whatever. And,
Mhm.
it wouldn't bother me in person if they said it. But what I end up saying to them is I send a professional or private message and I just say, hey, I use my Facebook professionally. This does not come across as how I am in my business. Can we please remove this? Or I'll delete it out and explain why and say, next time, please don't post or tag me on this sort of a post.
Right. It's super important to keep your brand and everything consistent. So
exactly. Because again, people look at that kind of stuff and it affects their position in buying or working with you.
Yeah, it's just funny. We've got a comment already popping up. It's like, oh no, Oprah did that.
I know. We love Oprah, but yeah, we'll just consider it she was busy.
And then like, don't be an all friend tagger. So that's good. You're right. Either people are starting to have a little like understanding of just how hard and that all these brands are doing it, right? So
yeah. It amazes me the amount that they're doing it. And we have more examples like this one, especially. This to me was in very poor taste. It was a play on words, but it was also very graphically profane.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I was rather surprised. I like razor products, so but it's memorable. But is it the memory that you want your brand to associate?
Be consistent. And one of the things that I try to remind people is like, look, some of the hardest thing to do is to avoid some of the edgy comments because they're easier. But also, if you stay away from it, your brand lasts longer.
Yeah.
Right. So you can go for a short burn or long-term, gains.
Yes. All right. Don't post in poor taste. So there's a couple of these, I believe, but they are basically things that people are taking advantage of crises or things that have happened recently, or like this in the Boston Marathon. So it just the verbiage that they used was not very good because in this case it's associated with the bombing, or it brings back those memories for people.
Absolutely.
So just be cautious about what you're saying and how you're saying it. I'd like to think that maybe they didn't mean it the way that it came across, but I'm sure many people saw this ad and thought of the bombing, which wasn't checked very thoroughly before.
Right. And so here's actually a question I have, and I think other people would have it too, is what kind of resources are there to check like if a post is actually not inflicting pain on another culture? Maybe sometimes you don't realize that it's something that may be racist or maybe just not tactful. Like what tactful? How can we test that? Is there any tools out there or any like ways to test it?
That's actually a really good question. I know there's tools out there. I typically don't use them. I just do a search for, common things that are happening right now, events that are happening. I warn my clients that if they're going to post something or have a calendar of posts, that they watch the current events and they see what's coming on, so that if something can be misconstrued and thought of as not the way that they meant it, then maybe they want to change that around on their posting schedule. Beyond that, I just, again, I look at the news sources and I know that there's some tools out there, like through some of the can't even think what they're called, but like HubSpot and, Hootsuite, all of that. There's a lot of suggestions and opinions.
Well, one of the things that I see a lot of times is a client will send me something like, hey, what do you think about this? I'm like, wait. Like, have you seen it all? Like, make sure if it's a video, make sure you see the whole video.
Yeah.
Make sure you understand like what the context or what the purpose was, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's just they are funny, but people don't know the underlying message behind them. And so really knowing all the context around that is really interesting. I've got a question right now. So I'm going to take that off real quick. This is an interesting question from Kivani. Hashtags on Facebooks, yay or nay?
Okay. Well, you'll see from my posts, I don't use a lot of hashtags. They can be helpful, especially if you're sharing onto Instagram, because Instagram does use hashtags and Facebook owns Instagram now. So hashtags were used for through Facebook was for searches. And so if you have an appropriate hashtag, you can get search engines that will pull up your information if that hashtag is attached to it. But other than that, I hate to say it, I'm not a huge fan of hashtags. They have their purpose, but I think there's better ways to get your message across that are less off-putting with people. A lot of people look and they're like, I don't know what those are. I don't know what they do. Why are they there? And then a lot of people use more than maybe 5 to 7, which I think should be the max, like very max. And you'll see people that do 20 plus or more. And it just is not very attractive. And a lot of people don't understand why it's there. So they're like, oh, that message doesn't apply to me because it's got all this stuff on it.
All right, quick question for you, because I'm interested in this, is what about using the hashtag within your sentence instead of the end?
That's a good question.
Like if it's part of the, like for instance, we're talking about social media and the hashtag social media, should we do like hashtag social media, blah, 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 right?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a purpose for it one way or another. I like to use it within a sentence. If I do use it, I feel it just kind of pulls it together and it lets somebody know why that's in there.
Excellent answer. Great question, Kivani. All right, we're back to more. Don't use cultural appropriation.
I know, poor little critters. So they took this message that, so cultural appropriation, so people understand it, it's when you're using slang that comes from maybe another demographic than yourself, and you're trying to imprint that into your branding. I don't like this. I think for some people it can be very insulting. They maybe don't take it the way that it was intended or that the person thought it was intention. So it's just best not to use it. When you are posting, you want to be in your brand and your brand culture. So if you don't know what that is, again, some of my free videos will explain that. But in a nutshell, it basically is just you determine what kind of voice that you have for your brand, what type of attitude that you have for it, and you stick with that. You don't try and stray into these other cultural things that maybe you're not a part of, that somebody would misconstrue as being a negative thing.
Well, and I'm going to let you shine on this because obviously you're a brand creator. I see a lot of people trying to create brands that are just cool because they think they're cool, but they themselves aren't cool, right? Like it's so important that the brand is part of you, right? If it's not part of who you are, why even trying to be something you're not? It's already hard enough, right, to create a good brand. And the best brands, in your opinion, do you think the best brands incorporate like the essence and the culture of the people on the business that's creating that?
Definitely. I think your brand, in order to have a really solid brand, you need to have an understanding of who you are and who you're trying to attract. And if you can't be cohesive with those, then you're not going to make a sale, in my opinion. So the more clear that you can be on who you are, what's your attitude, what are you trying to convey to the world, and then who you're trying to attract and what you want from them, how they can help your business grow. The more clear that you are and the more that you put that into your brand outline, the better results that you're going to see financially.
Great answer. Absolutely. All right, let's see what we got. Don't take advantage. Let's throw that question back up here. Here, we'll put Kivani back on there.
Yeah, so definitely. So here, okay, so misuse of hashtags, like we were saying, and also, so this again, it's using a hashtag for a search engine to attract people that it has nothing to do with that brand. It's, it's kind of like we have another one coming up here in a second, I believe. That's a hurricane situation, and it's telling people to run out and go shopping. So, I'm sure that's the farthest thing from people's mind when they're dealing with a hurricane. And so it's just not an appropriate way to attract attention. They're
Right.
kind of taking advantage, and they're trying to get that audience that is, trying to get real-time news and see what's going on. And they're like, hey, don't worry about that. We've got some products over here. So bad timing, bad message.
Yeah, bad use of of what you could be doing. You could be doing something positive with that actual, tweet or post.
So I guess I can also kind of throw in when we say positive, not that I think this is the best way to utilize that, but a better example would have been, hey, we're having a fundraiser for these people. So,
Right.
in that case, that, that's still kind of borderline for me, but I would have rather seen that than, oh, it's okay, you got a hurricane, come shop.
Here we go. Here's a great question from Craig Levine. What's the fine line between too much content posts versus too few?
Oh, excellent question. Really, it has to do with your ability to post. I always say be consistent. So if you cannot get on and nurture and post as frequently, well, as an example, I think a good starting point for people would be 3 times a week that you post and add relevant content. If you cannot maintain that, then don't set that precedence up front. You want to, maybe 1 time a week is where you start. It's going to help with your algorithms if you're consistent, and it's also going to help your audience, because if they know what to expect from you, then they can look for that. If you start coming on and posting every day and then you take a 4-week break, not only does it mess up the algorithms, but people get really upset because they're like, hey, wait a minute, I was following you. You were building that trust with me, and now all of a sudden you disappeared. So that again does more harm than good. So I would just say, as consistently as you can do it, and are you attracting the right engagement from your followers with that? So if you're posting and you're not getting any likes or any comments, anything like that, then maybe you need to revisit things and understand, try and see what's going wrong and how you can fix that to get that engagement up.
Right. Great post from Greg. Don't spam me.
Don't spam me either.
He doesn't like the brands that fill his feed. Nobody does, right? You almost know that they're just buying everybody, right?
Yeah.
And I'm so guilty of that.
Love it. Yeah. So again, no spamming. So again, general guidelines are 8 out of every 10 posts should be informative or educational or helping your audience with value of some point. 2 out of every 10 posts should be along the lines of sales.
Sure.
And so by all means, don't spam people unless you're offering them, great tips and tricks. There's a lot of things out there that you can be providing information that maybe they couldn't access in another way. So if you're going to offer that regularly, that's fine. But don't sit there and say, buy my stuff, buy my stuff.
Right.
Oh yeah, did you buy my stuff?
Well, and that's what we are. So Expert35 is just that. We're here to inform, and we know that's our brand. So we push that out because we're never really talking about ourselves. We're talking about you. We're talking about the community. So that's like a good explanation of the balances. Well, let's talk about the final 2. The big one, the politically charged posts.
Yeah. So just don't put them on there. I mean, I'm just going to say, don't right now, America in general is heated. It's very divided. There's really no reason. I see a lot of people doing it just to stir up controversy and generate attention. It really doesn't help your brand at all. That stuff, I don't want to say be private because I believe everybody has a voice, but it's just not a good way to handle things. And especially in this post, when you're actually targeting specific people and things of that nature, that's going to come across very poorly because you can figure right now 50% of your audience is not going to like what you have to say politically just by the stats. So yeah, I see Greg, just don't. Yes.
I did it quickly. What's interesting about that post is that let's be honest, IHOP didn't write it, but they thought it was okay to retweet it. Right. And that's still not right. I mean, you're using your brand to push somebody else's message and you're saying, oh, I didn't write it. People can see that and it hurts you more than you think it'll help you.
Yeah. That's very important. It's like people still assume that your opinion is in alignment with that, even if you weren't the one that wrote that. So again, just don't share it. I can't say it any easier than that. Just don't.
Yeah, and this was actually written. I think this is written by McDonald's. So that was, that's intense. It's like you have to. I know people want to draw lines, but at the same time, you don't need it. You don't need it to grow your brand.
Exactly. And if you feel that it's really necessary for your brand, then write a blog post and share that. You don't need to put hate statements. You don't need to attract socially, politically charged. If you have an opinion about that, if it is in alignment with your business and you work with politicians or something, you can make a statement. But again, a lot of these are just done in poor taste and hate. And like I said, we're so divided now as a country. All it's doing is making 50% or more people upset with you. So why would you do that damage to your brand? It's harder to come back from poor publicity and damage to your brand than it is to just avoid that in the first place.
Perfect. And a really important one. Let's talk about kids. Let's talk about family.
I know this was so sad. Don't crush a kid's dreams. I mean, the poor kid, this one's like, if your child addresses a letter to the North Pole, you can leave it with us and we'll do the shredding. I mean, how more heartbreaking is that? Even if the child can't read that, that's just, I believe in Santa. So,
right?
Yeah, don't go there.
All right, so let's summarize. My favorite part of the show. We always do 3 things to do now, but let's start with 3 don'ts. What are your big 3 don'ts?
Okay, well, I think one of them was pretty clear. Don't tie politics into your branding, into your messages. The other thing is it's hard to pick the top 3 because there were several in here, but don't post in poor taste. Do research, make sure that you're not harming people by what you're posting.
Right, be aware.
Just, in general, don't take advantage and don't misuse the circumstances. Don't overuse hashtags. Don't make your friends sell your stuff for you. You can encourage them to share, but don't just tag them automatically and
Yeah, and I definitely don't use the caps. I love that idea of don't leverage off of somebody's pain to sell your stuff. You're not going to sell anything.
Exactly. Again, as I said, it's all about high vibe. It's building relationships. It's, those types of things. So we just don't do it. That's a topic of today. Don't.
Right. Well, and now, because we like to end on a high vibe, I know we already talked about some of we're criticizing some of this. We're not trying to just bash them. We're trying to really help the audience. Look, here's some bad examples, but now let's talk about what you should do with social media. So we'll go with 3 do's of social media.
Okay. So definitely engage with your members in a positive way. So, ask them questions. How's your day going? What would you like to do? What would you like to see? Be engaging, really listen to what they have to say. There's very valuable trips in there, are very valuable, can't think of the word I'm trying to say, information in their responses that can help you with social media campaigns in the future. So just kind of really engage them and see what they want from you. The second thing is build relationships. This is a time of building relationships, letting people understand what you do, why you do it, have that deeper connection. So spend time getting to know the other person on the other side of the screen at this point. And the third thing I would say for now is support others. Like people's posts, go and engage with them, share things with them, help them out. This is a great time for doing that and building trust that way too.
So great having you back, Christina. So many people wanted this. You can tell. Look at the conversations. There's people arguing about cap locks and removing it from keyboards, but so true. And it's so important right now because I think this is a microphone that some of us are learning how to use.
Yeah.
You asked us, would we be doing videos, 3 months ago? Probably not.
Exactly. Yeah. So I understand there's trial and error. And just like me, you'll see some of my posts, speaking of the caps thing, I think it's okay to put a word or 2 in cap because it kind of gets the attention. Again, there's going to be differing opinions out there, but just use some common sense and poll and do some investigation and you'll figure it out.
Yes, no, absolutely. And there's a bunch of comments. We're going to let you go into the comments, reply back, put some pieces on there because
awesome.
I think this was just timely. It's helpful. I got some answers I needed. And sometimes it's hard. It's hard to kind of admit well, I don't know. Should I put the hashtag in the middle? And then there was an example that we were criticizing, but then it was criticized for a different reason. So I think it gives me a better understanding of where I need to go. But that's why we have Expert35. That's why we have Christina Tervay on the show today. Thank you for coming with us. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. I had a lot of fun.
No problem. All right, Christina, we'll let you go on to the chat.
Sounds great.
Guys, we've got all kinds of things coming up. Tomorrow, we got Keevany talking about listening to your pets and what's that's going to do for you. Then we're going to ways we can feed America, sustainable gardening. And next week, we've got how to stay out of trouble with the law, security. We've got networking. We've got all kinds of things lined up. Follow us on Expert35. Thank you for being with us. Let me leave you with one of Christina's top threes, and we'll see you guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 9:35 in the morning.